Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to this webinar where I'm going to talk you through the Bachelor of Social Science degree here in Maynooth, and I'm joined by a number of colleagues who I'll introduce as the webinar progresses. It's a 3-year degree. There's an option to add another year on and to go abroad for that year as study year abroad. And we take in approximately 80 students a year to the Bachelor of Social Science degree. That may seem a lot, but in university terms, that's quite a small class grouping. And over the 3 years, you get to know a lot of people in your class. In terms of the entry requirements, there are a number of ways that you can come in to the Bachelor of Social Science degree. If you're coming through the Leaving Cert, the points vary from year to year, but they tend to be in the region of about 345 to 360 points. So that's last year it was 346. It varies slightly from year to year. And those of you who are coming from the Leaving Cert, you will know much better than I the minimum requirements, and we've set it out here in terms of subject areas, the required subjects, whether at ordinary level or higher level, and the minimum grades required. And then if you're a mature entry student, you need to be 23 years of age or over on the 1st of January of the year you apply. We keep 25% of places approximately for mature students. So in a class of 80, that's a good blend between mature students and school leavers. Also, some people come in through what was the old FETAC route, or now QQI level 5 with 5 distinctions. And these people have already applied, and we've recently completed the interviews for mature students, and they should be receiving their offers in the next few days. And we hope to have a good cohort again this coming year of mature students. Now, what is the social science degree about? The core subject is a subject called social policy, and you study that and I'll talk to you what social policy about is in a moment. You study a second subject, usually sociology, but you may have as your second subject throughout the 3 years, one of this following. You could have anthropology, philosophy, history, geography, or economics. And in first year, you also study critical skills, which is really about learning at university. It's about how do you marshal an evidence-based argument? How do you analyze something critically? And it's about building the skills for learning on an ongoing basis in a critical way. At school level, a lot of what we learn is by rote. Here at university, we're trying to build your critical analytical skills, your critical research skills, and writing skills. In terms of the future, the social science degree is suited to a whole range of careers, and I'm going to go into that a bit more in a moment. And also it's suited to a range of professional careers in social work, in community and youth work, in social policy. Now, what is social policy? Social policy at one level is used to refer to areas of government policy that are concerned or impact upon human welfare in society in the broadest sense. So it's about the factors that influence human well-being. How can governments and others promote and further human welfare? And social policy as a subject in the universities is about 70 years old. The first university it emerged in was London University in the 1950s, and it was then originally linked to training of social workers. But social policy, at one level, you can also see it as the study of social problems, in inverted commas, or social issues, and what governments and other institutions do to address those social issues and those social problems. And critical, if economics is fundamentally concerned with issues of value and efficiency, and psychology is fundamentally concerned with issues about personal identity and personality, social policy is fundamentally concerned with the equity of issues, with asking fundamental questions: who benefits from a service? Who contributes to it? To what extent is it fair? Is it just? Is it equitable? Now, what does social policy cover? There are what are called pillars of welfare, and it studies such issues as health policy and health inequalities, education policy, education inequalities, housing, the housing crisis. We had a major conference on housing over the last 2 days. It studies social protection. It studies the personal social services, such as social work and others. It studies employment and unemployment, often called the pillars of the welfare state. But it also studies cross-cutting issues such as sustainability and social justice, poverty, a major theme in social policy, inequality, both inequality in terms of social inequality in terms of class and poverty, but also identity inequalities linked to gender, race, disability, sexuality, and the other protected areas. It studies drugs policy, criminal justice policy, and it studies different stages in the life course: old age and social policy, childhood and social policy, the family and social policy, gender and social policy. So we fundamentally try in studying these areas to give you both a solid theoretical basis in social policy research techniques and skills, the ability to analyze a policy, and the ability to write it appropriately for academic audiences and to frame things that are appropriate in a policy context. Now, as you go through the degree, you accumulate what are called credits. Now, you don't need to unduly preoccupy yourself today with what are credits. That will become very apparent to you as you study the course. They're not marks or grades. They're about, when you study a subject, what recognition you get from the college. Usually things are broken up into blocks of 5 credits or 7.5 credits or 2.5 credits, and you build up credits as you go through the degree year on year. And to finish the degree, you need overall 180 credits. And then if you go abroad for a year and to do an international year, you get additional credits for that. Now, in a class of 80, to be honest, about maybe 3 or 4 people at most would add on a year and do the international year. So in first year, your core subjects are social policy and sociology. If social policy is crudely the study of social problems and what governments can do about it, sociology is more the theory of society and the theory of people in social contexts, in social groups. And then you pick a third subject from the list of choices there, and that's very much to be chosen by you as in relation to what your interests are. A lot of people choose anthropology, which is concerned with the study of cultures and cultures in different contexts. Some people choose philosophy, a very good subject. Some people choose history. It depends on what your interest is. And then you also do this subject, critical skills, in first year. And critical skills is about learning to learn at university. It's about giving you the skills of academic writing, giving you the skills of what constitutes evidence. You know, you might have opinions on particular issues to do with homelessness or drugs policy. You might take a view, oh, I think there should be decriminalization of drugs because it would take the crime element out of it. It would disrupt criminal markets. But what's the evidence to support that? We would take you beyond opinion and we would immerse you in the evidence that would enable you to make arguments and to evaluate issues in the round, because not one perspective or not one commonsensical approach you will see holds the truth, but it's often the multiplicity of perspectives that you gain from. We will also give you skills of communication, argumentation, presentation, and how can you use data to help you in your work and in your studies. And then in second year, you keep social policy. That is the core subject of the degree. And you keep one other subject. Most people keep sociology, but you could keep, the next most popular is anthropology, or whichever one you actually prefer yourself from the list I mentioned a few moments ago. And then in second year and third year, you also have some choices. So you have choices like case studies in social policy, drugs policy, criminal justice policy, civic engagement, where you can do up to 40 hours engagement in civil society. And there are other options also. And then in third year, you also have options continuing, such as housing, sustainability and social justice, social policy and philosophical questions, social policy and gender. And you keep social policy, you keep your subject that you chose in second year as your continuing subject, and you also do a dissertation in third year, which is a structured project where you have an allocated supervisor who works with you in evaluating policy in a particular area that interests you and that you want to explore more in a structured way. And you might also have a dissertation in your other subject in sociology also. Now, in terms of what you can do with your social science degree, it's a very, very good foundational degree for a range of possible future careers and for further study. It's popularly associated with going on to become a professional social worker because you have to have a degree in which social policy is a core component in order to get into a professional master's in social work, but it's also linked to community and youth work, and it's also linked to careers in social policy. So in terms of social work, you need to have a professional qualification in social work, which enables you to be registered with CORU and to go on to the social work register in Ireland. Now, in order to do that, most people have a first degree in which social policy is a core subject, and then add to that a professional master's in social work. And we have a professional master's in social work, which is recognized by CORU, and entry to it is competitive. It's by selection. If people are interested in going on to do social work, I strongly advise you from early on in your degree to either do voluntary work and build up over 400 hours of relevant voluntary work over your 3 years, or to consider doing some paid care-related work over the course of your degree that would give you the necessary practical experience added to your academic degree in order to get into social work. Other things you can do after the social science degree is you can go on to study further in the area of social policy. You might be interested in becoming a policy advisor in government. We have people who've gone on to work in a range of the different civil service departments, We have people in the Minister of Housing and Local Government's private office. We have people working in the Department of Justice, in the Gender Violence Unit. We have people working in Foreign Affairs, in the Consular Service. Past graduates are in a range of areas. We have somebody working as the head of policy in One Family, the lone parent organization. We have somebody, graduate working in Threshold as their policy officer, and they did this master's in rights and social policy. And then you can also, if you want to do a master's in community and youth work, and we have people now working in community development jobs in places like Kildare Local Leader Partnership, people working in youth work in Kilkenny Youth Service. I was just talking to somebody the other day who's a youth justice worker in Portlaoise, and she did, they all did social policy first and then community and youth work. And if you really learn to love us over the years you're studying, you might decide to stay on and do a doctorate in social policy or a doctorate in applied social studies. So we have a range of other courses that you can do if you want to advance your studies, academic or professional, in Maynooth University. And this is the range of them here, and I'd gladly answer questions about them. So if you have any queries about the social science degree, here are our contact numbers, and this is our website. It's probably best to go on the website and email us in the current context of the pandemic, and we will get back to you very promptly. And then this is the contact details for the Maynooth Admissions Office, the email, and the web site for Maynooth Admissions. So that's broadly as much as I was going to say at this stage. And I'm going to now move on, and I'm going to be joined by two people who have, one person who is currently studying the social science degree, Stephanie, and one person who has completed the social science degree and is now doing the master's in social policy. She'll be joining us in about 2 minutes' time. So what I can do now is maybe begin to have a chat with Stephanie so that you who are listening in can get a sense of what it's like to be a student on the degree. So good afternoon, Stephanie, and thank you for making yourself available to talk to me this afternoon about the social science degree. Can you tell me, Stephanie, a little bit about what interested you in studying social science here in Maynooth?
Hi, Seamus. Thanks for that. It was actually quite exciting to hear you pointing out those stuff. And now that I've been doing it for a couple of years, I understand it better, because when you're talking about critical skills, and I know when I was starting out, I didn't really know what any of that meant. So now it sort of makes more sense to me, and it's quite exciting because it starts to become a natural thing to have those skills. But the reason I actually studied social science in Maynooth was when I left school, I was actually working in HR and payroll, and I had always planned to go back to college. And but I left school in sort of the boom, the Celtic Tiger times, right. And there was lots of jobs, and then we had the recession a few years in. So I had said, I've got options: either I'll go traveling like a lot of my friends were doing, or else I'll go on to do college. But I actually went traveling. So I done the same work, and I got sponsored in HR and payroll, and it was a good job. It was good pay. But I started to notice, even from traveling, I was starting to look at society around me, and I was looking at like, even when I was traveling in third world, like, you know, developing countries, I was sort of looking at the society and wondering what made people so happy with different ways of life, and I just became more inquisitive. And then when I started working in my job in Australia, I got sponsored over there, and I was doing really, really well, and I was involved in implementing all these sorts of new HR systems and strategies. But slowly then again, I started to see this side of society where the jobs were getting outsourced to different countries. So everybody who worked with me started slowly getting made redundant, and the labour was moving off to different countries. So again, I started to kind of feel this fear that the job I was doing, that I was working so hard at, it was starting to lose, it was starting to disappear into quicksand, the actual career. So I came home anyway after a few years, and Ireland had changed. The landscape of the whole working industry was completely different. And all of a sudden jobs were becoming precarious and computers were doing my work. And I needed to have more experience, and I needed to have this, that, and the other. And the competition was so great. And no longer was I the person who you could pick up the phone and ask your questions about your payroll. It was done through systems, and computers were doing everything. So I started looking into different aspects. Sorry now for the long answer, but it's kind of the truth of it, So I started looking at different aspects of different roles, and I really, really wanted to get into the human element. So the inquisitive side of my mind and everything, one of my friends had recommended I look at social science. And once I looked at it, I was thinking, oh my God, I get to look at society and evaluate different things and look at why this works this way, and be a part of the changes. So I didn't even question Maynooth. I had a family member who'd worked in Maynooth for many years lecturing, and he was so passionate about what he'd done, and he was so involved in stuff, and I just went straight into Maynooth. So that's how I got into it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Stephanie. That's very, very informative and a very good context around your journey to Maynooth. And I'm delighted now we're joined by the other student who has studied social science in Maynooth and is now on the Masters in Social Policy. So good afternoon, Gillian, and welcome. And thank you for joining us. So Gillian, I was just asking Stephanie what interested her in studying social science here in Maynooth. So if I ask you the same question, what interested you in studying social science?
Yeah, hi Seamus, hi Stephanie, hi everyone. I suppose what interested me, I suppose stemmed from my life experience in terms of, so I became a mum at a very young age. I left school before I completed my state exams. So I ended up going on and having 4 children altogether. So when my youngest got to a point where she wasn't at home with me anymore, I tried to get a job, and it was near impossible, So it was go back to education or just stay at home, So my choice was go back to education, and I attended Selbridge Community Centre to do a community healthcare course. And it was the tutors there that kind of encouraged me to go on to further study, and that's how I ended up in Maynooth. Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah. So 2 quite different routes into the course, but 2 fascinating and very rich routes to hear. So what would you say, Stephanie, are some of the good things that you would identify about studying social science in Maynooth? What stands out for you as the good things about studying here?
I think well, first of all, as you said earlier on, the critical skills that you gain, the conversations you can have with people outside of university about your life, because everything that you're studying in social science affects your life, whether it's social media, even in one of our media classes, we were discussing The Social Dilemma, the movie, and how it's affecting our lives. So every aspect of studying social science spills out into your life. That's the first part, but specifically one thing that I really, really enjoy about social science in Maynooth is actually the social justice module. It's, we had Social Justice Week, and we had really cool people on, like we had Niall Breslin, we had Father Peter McVerry on talking about homelessness, and there's so many different social issues that you might be involved in, that you might be interested in, but you kind of get to make the degree your own, because you can go off and look at a social policy, and you get the freedom and sort of the individuality to go off and look into something that really interests you, and you can keep going down that, and you can sort of narrow it into that being your degree in some ways, but also you have the option to look at what's given to you. So it's just very broad, and there's so many options, and you just keep learning so much.
Okay, great, Stephanie. And Gillian, what would you identify? You've been through the degree now. What would you identify as some of the good things about studying the social science degree in Maynooth?
Yeah, like Stephanie was saying, there's such a diverse range of areas that you can study and kind of develop then your own interest in different areas, or focus on what interests you more. I suppose what I would identify more with is like I have a keen kind of interest in criminal justice policy and penal policy, and kind of give an example of how the modules are kind of interconnected. So I done the civic engagement module, I think it was in second year, and I got the opportunity to volunteer with Lakela Youth Mentoring Project. So it was kind of gave me the lived experience kind of aspect of it, and then the policy that I was learning about in lectures and stuff was helping me to understand people more, rather than just what's on paper, so it's good in a way that all the modules kind of interconnect. So yeah, that's
Very
what
good.
I would. Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, Gillian, you did the voluntary work with Lakela in second year, and then you also did the criminal justice module. So you were mentoring somebody at risk of offending. You were also studying that in the class through the criminal justice module. And then in third year, you went on and you built on all of that, and you did your dissertation on a criminal justice topic.
I did. I focused on whether prison was an effective response for young people involved with the criminal justice system. So, yeah, like you say, Seamus, it all built up to the end kind of project, and all that kind of helped at the last year as well. Yeah.
And that's one of the good things of having the options, because you can, as Stephanie was saying, you can customize it to your interest to some extent. Do you know what I mean? You can build it. Okay. And what is, Stephanie, the area you've so far most enjoyed studying? Either the module or a topic within a module, or is there anything stands out for you that you particularly enjoyed, and why?
Well, I'll just kind of say what my area of interest is and how it's narrowed down, and I'm more sure as I go along. So my area of interest is working in youth mental health services.
Right.
Toward the end of it. Now, whether I'll go on a master, I'm still not sure, because I'm still learning so much. But many of my modules, I mean, I've just done, as Gillian mentioned, the civic engagement, and that's probably my favorite module. And I get to look, and unfortunately this year with the COVID, we didn't actually get the work experience, so we had to sort of profile from home. But we've learned so much of it, and yeah, like, so as I said, that's the area I want to get into at the end, and I'm customizing everything as I go. And even in media, like we say in sociology, so that's like social policy is the civic engagement. Sociology, you're looking at media areas. But a big thing like I would be focusing on is isolation in young people in the generation and everything they're facing. But you've also got, like as Gillian said earlier on, how they all interconnect with each other. So in another one, you might be doing European comparative policy, and you're looking at how other countries deal with this and how they're, and then you're looking at research and statistics as to why Ireland has the highest rate of it compared to another country. So you start, all your modules begin to interact with each other. Yeah, so
great. Excellent. Thanks very much, Stephanie. And Gillian, the same to you, but in a way you've kind of answered this already with your last answer. But what stands out for you as what you've most enjoyed so far?
Yeah, I've enjoyed the criminal justice side of things, but I suppose as well I've enjoyed the child policy modules, and everything that kind of gives a bit of background to why we are the way we are, why Ireland is the way it is, or why we react to some things and why we don't react to others, So I've enjoyed all the modules. I can't give a preference of one.
Okay. But there is a substantial module in second year on child and family policy.
Yeah.
Okay. What would, Stephanie, you advise other students who are thinking about going to college? Would you encourage them to study social science in Maynooth?
Yes. I'm not going to say no. No. I have some friends.
And why would you encourage them?
Yeah, well, I have some friends who, like, actually one or two of my friends' daughters have come out of actually come straight out of school, and they really weren't sure exactly what they wanted to do, or they kind of knew what areas they wanted to get into, but they weren't 100% sure. And I think sort of in this day and age, we have so many options, and people can get sort of almost like analysis, but like they can get paralyzed with options. So it's quite scary to look. And even as a mature student, for me going back, it took me a couple of years to decide what I wanted to do. And then you're afraid that you might pick the wrong thing, or, you know, what if I don't like it, but I've already committed? So you're afraid of it not working out. So I'd actually say to a lot of people, especially if you're not sure, but also if you are sure, do social science. Maynooth has a great, you can come along on the journey and have so many options. And I did the family policy, as Gillian said, as well. And then you start looking in the social work area, and it might have been something that you never had in your mind, but all these different options open up, and you get to continue to explore the one you want, but also there's many other options. And Maynooth just has so many different, they have conferences on, and outside of my college hours, I still want to go, and you don't have to, it's up to you, but I still want to join in and watch them and see my lecturers partake in things. And so it's very exciting to be a part of the journey with the university.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. And Gillian, would you encourage people thinking about doing social science, would you encourage them to seriously consider Maynooth? And if yes, why?
I definitely would, and Stephanie just spoke about the broader kind of aspect as to, you know, what you can achieve from it. For me, I would say from a more personal perspective of how much Maynooth has helped me develop my confidence, you know, helped me to find my identity, so to speak. I wasn't just like Mammy anymore, you know, I have a different role in life.
Yeah.
And definitely the people that you meet and the lecturers that you meet definitely kind of bring that through as well. So I would definitely encourage people to go to Maynooth. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
My son to go this year now, but I think he wants to be as far away from me as possible. So
sorry, I missed that. But Gillian, say that.
I said I'm trying to convince my son to go this year.
Right.
Apply for college for Maynooth and Carlow. So there's competition going on here. I'm fighting for Maynooth, and he wants.
Okay, he wants to get away. Okay, and coming towards the end of the questions, things that you can do after the degree, options, you know, when you study social science. Are there things that you're aware of now that you can do that are beginning to become more apparent to you, Stephanie, that you mightn't have been aware of previously, you know, in terms of either further study or career options? I've talked about some of them when I was doing the presentation, but anything that strikes you that, you know, options that seem particularly interesting or that you maybe hadn't thought about so much before?
Well, I know that you said I was in your presentation. You were talking about the different, the further professional qualifications and everything you can get, but I know for some people, and including myself going back as an adult, sometimes you just want to get your studies and it's a little bit fearful to sort of think about the further years ahead, and you sort of, but there's a lot of jobs that, I mean, the more I get into it, there's a lot of jobs you can see at the end of it that I wasn't aware were actually there. Even at the end of degree or halfway through, if you started wanting to do some charity work or whatever you get involved in with NGOs or the public sector. But like, even if you were into research or statistics or algorithms or how people socialize, you could actually end up working for Facebook or Google, because you learn to do SPSS and research and statistics and understanding society in that way. And then like that, there's, as I said, I want to get into youth services. So there's community development officers, and you'll be able to start getting experience and stuff without even having your full degree. So you can start moving yourself slowly into that area. And there's a lot of jobs. There's just so many, again, and I don't want to keep repeating myself, but there really is so many broad aspects that you can get into. And then obviously at the end of it, if social work was your thing, you continue on. And as Gillian said, you can do the family policy in the middle of it, but you could even probably get into journalism and everything at the end of it, because you do some aspects of media, and you look at media from how it affects society as a whole. And yeah, there's lots of different areas then you can get into. So that's me. Yeah, that's my take.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. That you've given people a very good broad picture of the range of options that are open to people. Gillian, anything that you would like to say about, you know, after you graduate? Are there things you would think about now that maybe you hadn't thought about when you started the degree as possible places to work or to pursue a career?
There's loads. Like Stephanie has mentioned loads there. I don't think I could give any more examples in that context. For me, it was I felt like I wanted to do more study. I felt like I wanted to know more. And I suppose human rights kind of plays a big role in every aspect of our society today, in policy, in practice, everywhere. So I chose to go on and do the Rights and Social Policy Masters just because I wanted to know more before I decided to settle down in any particular kind of job, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And are you enjoying that as well?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's pretty similar to the degree in terms of you choose your own subject areas. So there's a long list, so you're choosing things that you feel like you're going to enjoy yourself or that you're interested in. It's really good, and it obviously goes in a little more in depth than what you would in degree, but it all just backs up what you've learned over the last year.
Already. Yeah. Great. Thank you very much, both of you. Anything you wanted to add that I haven't covered that you think is important to get across to people? I mean, one thing I didn't mention is that people often wonder coming into first year about how many hours face-to-face contact you have with the lecturers and tutors in first year. And it's about 15 to 16 hours a week in first year. And it might be a little less in second and third year, but that's roughly the contact hours. And then obviously on top of that, you have your study time. You know, you will always have assignments running, so you will need to be doing reading. So the 15 hours might seem quite low, but that's really just the class time or the tutorial time. But that's something people often ask about.
And if I could just add something,
Yeah,
then,
sure.
if just like for anybody that is interested, like I mean, for me, I was massively interested in podcasts and social cultural ones, and I didn't realize that is social science as well. And the likes of Blind Boy or Russell Brand or anything, those really popular people that are out there talking about society and everything now, when you actually start studying it, you're doing exactly that, and you're getting to really heavily get involved in those popular people, and almost, I don't want to say celebrities, but what people are really talking about, the important issues in the world. You're actually getting to study that and be a part of hopefully changing it. So yeah, that's my final words.
Very good. Thank you, Stephanie.
And just in terms of Seamus, I wasn't here for the first few minutes. I was studying, I was on lectures, so I joined. I don't know if you mentioned all the different supports available to people. Did you go?
That's a very good point. I didn't actually. No. Yeah. But so do you want to mention it?
Just in terms of if people are struggling, or you know, if somebody there's all different levels of support. So you have the writing centre if you're not very confident in your writing abilities, and then the critical skills module. I'm sure you've spoken about.
Yes, we spoke about that.
Well. And then kind of financial side of it, some people might have financial difficulties, and the supports are there through the university, you know. And I know from my own experience that can really put people off, you know, they're going to afford to go to college and that, but the supports are there. So
yeah, and there's a very good access office in Maynooth, which has we say like support for mature students. There's also the disability office as part of the access office, and there's a student counselling service, and there's a student budget advice service. So there are a range. Very good point to raise, Gillian. I'd forgotten that, but there are. And Maynooth, I would say, having worked there now 11 years, it's a very friendly university, and it's collegiate. You feel you're part of a university community. So it's not like a massive university, which some universities now are, where they're the size of a big town. Maynooth is still got a nice feel to it and an ethos of support and collegiality, and I think that's good.
Definitely agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, I see Laura has joined us. Laura is from our admissions office. Laura, did you want to add anything at this point?
Yeah, well, I certainly think that the mentioning of the sports is really good, because that's something obviously we would talk about with any incoming students, that there's a lot of different supports on campus from many different areas. But just in terms of people that might have some more specific questions or even looking for more information, there are actually presentations on the different courses available online today on the website, and they'll be online afterwards. But also there is a Q&A running later, and Seamus has kindly agreed to answer some questions for us between 1 and 3 this afternoon. And there is people there for the community youth work degree and things like that as well. So we would hope that people will stick around. And if you do have any more questions that you'd like answered as well, please do log on later on and you can get to interact more. And I just thought it was very interesting. So thank you for the overview.
Thank you very much, Laura. That's very helpful. So we will be available. I'll be available together with my colleague Hilary Tierney between 1 and 3 o'clock to answer questions online, both about the Bachelor of Social Science degree and then the Social Science degree in Community and Youth Work. So 2 courses we'll be answering questions on. So please, if anybody who has other questions, feel free to send them in and they would get answered.
Can I just answer one more thing? Just, I know there's 1 or 2 questions coming in. I know Joe is answering them as we go, but just to help out, I know we're going to wrap up soon. Just someone has sent in a question just regarding the hours, the kind of the contact hours. It says 15 hours lectures, and what in relation to tutorials, I suppose.
Well, I was including the tutorials in. It's about 16 hours a week in first year, and that includes a tutorial on a Wednesday and a Friday. I think Gillian will know this better than me because she's a tutor as well for first years.
Yeah,
is that correct? Yeah. So you have 2 hours of tutorials in social policy every week on top of your lectures.
Perfect. And then just again, I know Joe's busy answering some of them, so I'm trying to help him out with a few of them. But again, I suppose it was a question that you did kind of cover in different ways, but a more basic option of what type of jobs do people go into and can you go into afterwards? I know there was a lot of mention.
Okay, so the kind of jobs that I know people have got, a certain number of people go on to become professional social workers. Some people go on to become community and youth workers. Some people go on to work in government, into the civil service, and the work in policy advisory roles. So, you know, I mentioned we have somebody in the gender violence unit in Department of Justice. We have somebody in the Minister's Office for Housing and Local Government. We have people in One Family, the lone parents group, advocating on the rights for lone parents. Somebody in Threshold, advising on policy on homelessness. Somebody in the National Women's Council of Ireland, advocating on gender equality issues. So there's a range of places that people can go that are concerned with social justice, human well-being, those areas. Yeah.
No, that's great. I think that's most of what's come in now. I'm just replying to 1 or 2 myself, but yeah, I think that's covered the range, and it's been really nice to have the student perspective and that discussion about as well. It's really nice for, I suppose, prospective students to kind of get to talk to people that are actually studying this day in, day out, and kind of get a feel for it as well. So again, thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you very, very much, Stephanie, and thank you very, very much, Gillian. And thank you, Gillian, for coming out of your class today to be with us. So we can let people go now. And thank you very much, everybody. And thank you to Joe for answering the questions, supporting us. And thank you to the participants who have been online with us for the session. So thank you all very much. Stay safe and well, and try and enjoy some of the sunshine over the weekend.
All.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe.
Hi, Laura. I'm not sure if there are any more questions coming through.
No, that's everything.
6 have been answered.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry for jumping in on you there. I just wanted to.
Yeah.
What happens is you get a flurry at the end. I didn't want to try.
Yeah.
That's everything there. Everyone's.
So these have been answered live. These ones, okay.
Yeah, and we still have a couple of attendees still actually in the room now. So I'm actually going to just end this meeting now. So.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye, Laura. Bye bye.